in a designed world. From the clothes we wear, to the technology we use, to the cutlery we eat with, to the houses and homes we work and live in, and buildings, of course, or the cities we call home. But today I want to talk to you about my shoes. They were designed for a specific purpose, engineered to withstand the forces placed on them. They were designed as objects that I clearly desire, and as something someone else may then desire on me. They make me feel a certain way. They lift me up so that I can reach the top shelf, and allow me to stand tall enough so that I can find a friend in the crowd. They start conversations, and they sometimes appear in photographs. They take me to places and allow me to dance. But what I most love about my shoes is that they tell the world a little bit about who I am and what I care about. And this may not be obvious, but what I care about is walkable cities. And I care about intelligent design and planning of neighborhoods that encourage us to bike and walk. And here's why you should too. One of the biggest causes of social, environmental, cultural, fiscal, and health issues of the typical American city is sprawl. 74% of Canadians commute to work. Car, truck, or van is by far the most common mode of transportation. Those commuters spend an average of 25.5 minutes traveling one way. But this, of course, doesn't represent the reality of all commuters. For some, that trip is almost 45 minutes or more. Those who spent the least amount of time traveling in one direction are walkers and bikers. For walkers, that time is 12.5 minutes on average. So by simply choosing to live closer to your place of work, you could cut your commute time in half. You would gain an additional 2 hours a week in time, over 100 hours a year, an equivalent to about 3 weeks of additional holiday time. So is this why Europeans seem to be more productive than Americans who work more and rest less? Is this why they seem healthier and happier than us, and yet they can afford to take so much bloody holiday time? And yet their economies remain competitive. The answer, of course, is nuanced, but generally speaking, Europeans live in much more compact cities, nearly 3 times denser than their North American counterparts. So what does any of this have to do with design or with my shoes? Well, the shoes help me remember what truly matters, and maybe they will help you too. So in addition to the additional vacation time that you would gain personally, and the time and money, we would collectively able to gain, if we all lived closer to work, in reduced infrastructure costs and being able to lower our environmental impact. I mean, I can assure you that these babies allow you to see the world from a different perspective, different by about 7 inches. But I can also tell you that you would not want to walk any further in these than you have to. So the lesson is, compact cities and short distances are good. And if we build and maintain less road, we can afford to fix the potholes properly on the roads that we already have. Our population is increasing. We can either choose to continue to sprawl, or we can choose to direct that growth into the existing city, onto existing infrastructure routes, roads, municipal utilities like sewer and water, or near existing services like libraries, fire stations, and corner stores. The fact is that the core of the typical American city lacks density, and it is that density that creates for vibrant cities. Cities that are designed so that we want to spend time in them as opposed to speeding through them. In any design, usually the simplest, most efficient solution is the best one. Beauty and meaning are embedded in the essence of things. Take these sandals that have absolutely no material or contact point where it's not required. They remind me of the lesson of quality over quantity. Did you know that the average North American occupies about 900 square feet of individual living space? That is nearly 700 square feet more than in 1950 when that number was closer to 250 square feet per person. There's just simply no amount of mechanical gadgetry or green technology that can overcome the waste and embodied energy that it takes to house 2 people in a 4,000 square foot home, and unlikely to overcome for heating, cooling, and maintaining of that space over time. Efficiency affords you other things. It affords you more vacation time, more time doing the things that you love, and affords you to invest in quality instead. My dad used to say that poor people can't afford to buy cheap things. He would spend hours researching test reviews so that he could find us the best quality appliance whenever our household needed something. He wanted to buy the best so that we would not have to replace that item anytime soon. Design is the same way. A great quality design object can last for generations, and as it is well loved, it gives us more delight while we use it. These are my first pair of carbon fiber cantilever shoes. I bought them in 2005, almost 12 years ago, and I still wear them. So counting the times and years I've worn them, they become much more affordable than a cheap disposable discount shoe. Architecture is the same way. Today we build disposable buildings that add nothing to our enjoyment of cities. Disposable buildings that are then torn down in 20-year cycles as they decay quickly or become obsolete. I don't know how we can speak about low-carbon developments when these developments in many parts of the world involve building millions of square feet of new while tearing down existing building infrastructure. It makes no sense. The amount of embodied energy alone in the building material is enormous. We'd be so much further ahead if we learned to use the existing assets we already have, design buildings that can be adapted to other uses in the future. Consider the historic warehouse buildings. In many cases, these buildings have stood the test of time and now are being adapted to other uses. They were built to last. A great design item has such quality. These are my Eames shoes. They're adapted, or their heel is adapted rather, from the chair leg of the classic Charles and Ray Eames lounge chair designed in 1956. When you invest in great design, you only have to build once, and you get to enjoy the delight of that object, building, or public environment for its duration. Did you know that the average household drill only gets used about 13 to 16 minutes in its lifetime, and yet every second household in America, North America, has one? And scaling that thought up, same goes for your home. Do you have a formal living room or a dedicated guest room that maybe gets used 2 weeks of the year? That is less than 5% of the home's life? I don't know how we can talk about sustainable development or green architecture when we haven't considered the frequency of use. Take a regular school building that maybe gets used only during the day and sits empty evening and night. Or an office building that tends to operate from 8 to 5. We should be investing in designing and planning for a variety of overlapping uses, like a school building that becomes a community center at night, or building just one guest room between 2 neighboring houses, sharing boardroom and utility space between 2 synergetic companies so that we can save on the space that's required in the first place and cost. And we can then increase the frequency of use of the spaces that are only occasionally occupied. I'll be honest, I don't have a girlfriend living nearby anymore who I would share all these shoes with. But as a kid, I did. Just across the hall in our apartment building on the same floor, and we shared everything. Shoes, clothes, and Barbies. Today, I give shoes away to my friends so that I can feel less guilty, but also to extend their life and share their delights with others. Walkable, compact cities are cities designed first and foremost for people. We have to stop allowing our cities to be designed for the car and by traffic engineers. Sorry if you're a traffic engineer. But designed for pedestrians and alternate modes of transportation that are healthier for us and our home, the planet Earth. Despite the popular belief, this has actually very little to do with green technology, but rather it has to do with something much more rudimentary. Designing smaller and better, designing efficient and more compact, and worrying less about the buildings themselves, it's a bit of a weird thing for me to say as an architect, but more about the spaces in between. It's not the base of the issues, but the gap in the base of them that makes them special. And they remind me of the importance of the space in between. Which city do you think is denser? New York or Paris? New York with its tall buildings and skyscrapers? Not at all, not by a long shot. It's Paris, and there's hardly a building over 8 stories with an average height of 6. Density does not have to mean skyscrapers and ivory towers. In fact, research shows that due to the increased distance required between tall buildings, 6-story building height can actually afford you more density. And that smaller grain, then, human scale, creates more comfortable space and environment on the street, universally speaking. These are my low-res shoes. They remind me of the importance of the right scale, the right resolution of our urban texture, so that it's not about freeways, but it's about smaller, windier streets that encourage us to explore on foot, keep us connected to the street, allow us to recognize faces even from the top floor, and allow us to call our kids up for dinner. It's that smaller grain that then invites local entrepreneurship, small businesses, and owner-operated outfits to flourish. The hyper-local is the new global. So I owned a car a few years back. I paid $20,000 for it. I paid another $1,200 a year on insurance, $250 a month on parking, it was downtown, $150 on gas, I didn't drive that much, and another $500 a year on car oil changes and maintenance. So amortized over 4 years, that is over $900 a month. And even if we don't consider the cost of the car, still nearly $500 a month. So let me put this in the currency that we've been talking about. Embracing urban life and giving up your car would mean at least 2 pairs of amazing shoes a month, ladies. 24 pairs a year, and additional vacation time that you could spend with your family and friends in your new shoes. And if we consider the cost of the car itself, an additional 30 cab rides a month, so that you can do it even if your favorite pair pinches your toe. And you do the math for the 4 years. So I end where I started. Design matters. Design connects every part of our lives, from our economic well-being to our health and happiness, from the sustainability of our planet to our peace of mind and more resources for things we love. We need density. We need increased frequency of use. We need smart planning and informed citizens like yourselves who will demand better, so please do. We need an economic plan that's based on smart investment and not short-term gains. We need civic leadership that understands the stakes beyond the next election. Compact, walkable cities and smart planning of objects, buildings, and neighborhoods save resources for the things that truly matter. Time for our loved ones, or simply for a love of shoes. Thank you.